Hey everyone, welcome to the fourth OpenLaw demo. For those who haven't seen our previous demos, using OpenLaw, you can create a legal agreement and now a whole deal using our marked up legal templates, digitally sign these agreements, store those signatures on the Ethereum blockchain, and trigger Ethereum smart contracts upon signature. In this demo, we're going to show you how you can create and execute a whole set of legal agreements, an entire deal, and trigger multiple smart contracts once these agreements are signed by relevant parties. We're going to generate an employee offer letter, which calls a smart contract to transfer payment in Ether to an employee every minute, a confidentiality and invention assignment agreement, an alternative dispute resolution agreement, a restricted stock grant, which calls a smart contract to transfer tokenized stock to the employee on a straight vesting schedule, and a board resolution approving the grant awarded to the employee. The agreements have been bundled together into what we call a deal, called employee onboarding. Once signed by the employee, company signatory, and board, the employee will be paid in Ether every minute and will receive an allocation of stock represented by an ERC20 token, which will vest every 2 minutes, and have that entire transaction memorialized with standard legal agreements. So how can we do this? Well, using OpenLaw, you can upload a standard legal agreement and mark it up using our intuitive markup language. Let's go back to our restricted stock grant. In this agreement, we've identified key variables, identified optional provisions, and can make calls to an Ethereum smart contract when the agreement is signed. So the optional language is included in questions in the left-hand pane. So if I click yes, it will include in the agreement relevant language. Here, relevant language for a cliff. To see how this works, we need to look under the hood. In this agreement, we've wrapped certain language in brackets to identify variables. We've also wrapped other languages in curly Q brackets to create what we call a conditional. A conditional generates a yes or no question, which if set to yes, will include additional language in an agreement. We've also included a call to a smart contract. Here's an example of a call to a smart contract. The contract has the following address, which I'm highlighting now. It also has various different arguments which are necessary for the contract to execute. So OpenLaw will pass through to the smart contract the relevant arguments and the values that these arguments are set to in order for that smart contract to operate effectively. Now, each of these documents can interact with one another to create a deal, an entire collection of legal documents. To create a deal, you simply identify key variables that are common throughout a set of agreements and indicate what agreements should be grouped together. If you do that, we will create a deal view where the user will first see common variables throughout the deal. For the employee onboarding deal, which is the subject of our demonstration, we've identified an effective date, a company name and address, a company signatory, basic employee information, information about the employee's position, along with, at the end, a series of questions asking the user to indicate which agreements the employee will sign. Here, I have the option to create all the agreements at one time or just a handful. All I need to do is click yes or no where applicable. So if I want only 2 of the agreements, I simply click yes, and this will generate an employee offer letter along with a confidentiality and invention assignment agreement. If I click start, we'll see that these 2 agreements have been generated. Here's the employee offer letter on the right, and I can toggle to the confidentiality and invention assignment agreement on the left. If I wanted to generate all of these agreements, which I do, I can click yes, restricted stock grant, unanimous action of the board, and if I hit start this time, on the left-hand side, you'll see that all 5 of these agreements have now been generated, and I can toggle between them. Now, if I go back and fill in all the variables, they'll be set throughout this entire set of documents. So let me do that now. So I filled in the relevant information. I've created a hypothetical company, ABC Inc., which is incorporated in Delaware. I'm signing the agreement on the company's behalf. The employee's name is Jane Smith. This is her address, along with her Ethereum wallet address. She's joining ABC Inc. as a software engineer, and she's reporting to the CTO. She'll be signing a confidentiality agreement, an invention assignment agreement, an alternative dispute resolution agreement. She'll be receiving 60,000 shares of stock, and the board will be signing these agreements. So if I hit start, you'll see that all the information from the opening pane is now filled in. So if I toggle through the employee offer letter, it's filled in. And since I clicked that we're going to have additional agreements, the relevant language here has been modified. There's also been modified at the end. If I go to the next agreement, we'll see something very similar. The effective date's been put in. Since I indicated on the opening pane that ABC Inc. is a Delaware corporation, that's been already filled in, along with the relevant signature lines. Same thing for the alternative dispute resolution agreement, for the restricted stock grant, along with the unanimous action of the board. Now you can see that there's some additional variables that I need to fill in throughout these agreements. I can do that by simply going through them, and I'm going to do that now. Another thing that's interesting and with a new functionality that we added is that you can double click and you can modify any provision. So if I find language that I'm unhappy with, I can change it on the fly, and that will get saved not into the underlying template, but just for purposes of your agreement. So let me fill in all the relevant information and show you how we can send this out for signature and get those smart contracts executed. So I've now filled out all the relevant fields. It's completely filled in. Again, we can toggle through it to double check and make sure everything's in order. Assuming we're happy with everything and it looks good, we can review it. We can see all the agreements that are now generated just to double check everything. If you want, we can go back and fix things. We can also download an entire zip file of the agreements right here if we don't want to send it out for signature. But we do want to send it out for signature, so to do that, you simply click send. You fill out the relevant signatories. Here I'm going to use my various email addresses. Once I hit send, it will send out relevant emails to the parties here, and they can sign the agreements, and once signed, it will trigger relevant smart contracts. So the agreements are sent. Let me show you what it looks like and the signature process. So an email has been sent to me to sign this employee onboarding set of documents. I can view and sign the documents. I also have the option to download the documents and save them for my records. So I'll click view and sign. Once it's loaded up, I simply click sign agreement, and it will record the digital signature to the Ethereum blockchain. I can look through the agreements obviously beforehand if I feel like it. So let me sign it from the other accounts, and then we can see the smart contract execution. So the last agreement is getting recorded to the Ethereum blockchain. Once that hits, we'll see that the smart contracts are executed. Here, there's two calls, one to the first smart contract, which is for payment, and the second one is for the transfer of stock to the employee. And if we look at Jane Smith's Ether wallet, once these calls to the payment smart contract are processed by the Ethereum blockchain, we'll see that her account is credited. Same thing with regard to the token transfer. So I'm just going to let that happen. So transactions have been processed by the Ethereum blockchain, and we can see that Jane Smith's account has been credited by 0.004 ETH, just went up to 0.005. We've also seen that she's getting credited with tokens of ABC Inc. All of these transactions happen automatically as long as the smart contract program runs. So what does this all mean? It means that using OpenLaw, you can execute multiple legal agreements using blockchain technology, which trigger and execute multiple smart contracts. By implication, OpenLaw will allow for a greater range of legal transactions to rely on blockchain technology for storage, for digital signatures, all while gaining the dynamicism of smart contract programs. So thanks for watching and tuning in, and we'll have some more demos for you shortly.